I'm not in control of life. I'm at the service of life. I'm waiting to hear what the latest instructions are, the latest demands and commands are. That for me is beautiful. It is not a burden. I'm not a slave to life. I'm a bride to life, and I'm thrilled with that. Can you just a little bit lower, yeah, and the camera's on you. Yeah. Okay.
I'm here in the house now for several days.
Right.
And I see that here's a very strict structure in the house.
Strict structure, really?
Yeah. So
You're the first person that would use a word like strict, I would say. Most people say it's very chaotic.
yeah,
But if you see it as strict, I mean, maybe it's getting better,
okay, it's chaotic too. But when I look at my daytime or
Right.
the time from the other people, I can see that most or everybody in the house have a lot of work
Right.
and nearly no free time.
Right.
And there's no time left for the normal things everybody do, looking for personal fun or something like this.
Personal fun? Terrible fun.
And there's no time for
Thinking
choosing.
even. You can't even think here. No thinking, no fun.
No.
It's pretty close to a slave camp, actually.
No, that's not what I mean. But there's no time for making my own decisions so much as I'm doing during daytime. So here's
You've got some own decisions?
but here's the structure in this house. And why is it needed to have a structure like this?
Well, I don't know. I'm probably not the right person to ask. You know? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we have this structure. I mean, we start off every morning, you know, at, what time is it? 8:30, 6:30? When is it? 7:30. 7:30 in the morning for an hour. Then we have breakfast. Then we have tasks until another meditation, and then lunch, and then you get the afternoon off, but other people work, and then, you know. So yes, there's a structure. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you can tell it or not, but the motivation, for example, to do the tasks is not really directed, you know. I mean, Stefan likes to think of me as a terrible ogre, you know, kind of a great authority monster who is getting out a whip every day and, you know, slashing everybody, you know, beating them up until they, you know. But the reality is not like that. For example, this book, which is, if you look at it in our bookshop, is an amazing book, yeah? Because the people who worked on this book, they just put their love into it, you know? They put their love into it. They did impossible things, like this cover was designed, it went through about, I don't know, 8 different designs. And every design had different colors, and it all had to be printed out, and little bits had to be moved, you know, up and down. And I mean, the amount of time and energy that went into this book wouldn't be possible in any normal publishing company because of the time element, yeah? It would just cost too much. But here, the people actually want to produce something beautiful like this book. So the motivation is not the John David authority monster with a whip. It's their own heart, you know, their own heart. Because they've been making 30 of these books over the last, 15 years, I guess. Yeah. So it's a kind of passion, not just John David's passion, but all the other people working on the book's passion, you know. And because we want to actually put something out, you know? We want to perhaps make things just a bit better. You know? And so that maybe is a structure for you, because that involves a lot of work, because on top of making things like this, I mean, this book costs quite a lot of money and a lot of time and won't bring any kind of income. Won't bring any income. None of our books haven't brought any income, actually. Well, they bring an income, but no profit. So our publishing company never made any profit. It's plus minus zero for 15 years. Yeah? So basically, in any normal business situation, we would have been bankrupt already, 12 years ago. But we're not making money out of that. We make money out of other things, like we have a guest house, we have a massage business, seminar business. So these businesses also require a lot of work. And the work we put into those businesses bring an income which supports things like this. Right? And if you like, supports this meeting, because we have these cameras, we're broadcasting, and anybody who might be interested to watch can watch. Tonight we have 20 people watching. And then we have an archive where another lot of people will watch. So this is a kind of service, you can say this is a kind of service. And we're not a very big community. And so this small community works a lot. But this work is a kind of devotion. It's not a devotion to John David, it's a devotion to, what is it devotion to? I don't know. It's a devotion to love in a way.
I have not the feeling that the people do it because there's so much pressure. That's not what I wanted to say. I have the feeling that people do it because they have a feeling to do it.
Right.
And they like their work.
Right.
But when I compare it with normal life, then it's so different focused.
Of course, because in the normal life, some people are doing something they really like, yeah? But the vast majority of people are not doing something they even like doing. They're doing it for all kind of reasons, which are not the reasons from the heart. They're doing it because they hope that when they get to 65, they can retire and have 10 nice years or something. We don't live like that. We live every moment, Every moment is it, Every moment is the play. Every moment is the work. Every moment is the celebration. And therefore, in this community, you can experience, I think, a very loving energy field. Did you experience that?
Yes. Yeah. It's really touching to be here.
Right. Welcome. Don't be put off by the hard work,
No, I've no problem.
I think if you talk to the people, they won't experience it as hard work.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I have not the feeling that
For example, tomorrow night we're going to show a film I just mentioned about Gangaji, yeah? And we don't have it with German subtitles. And we realized this 3 days ago, that we don't have it with German subtitles. So for tomorrow night's meeting, 4 or 5 people have been working to make the German subtitles. And one woman is not coming to the meeting tonight, but she's sitting next door checking the subtitles, so it'll be ready tomorrow night. Yeah? Nobody told her to do that. She chose. She's been living here for 12 years, so missing one meeting is not such a big deal for her. Yeah? But still, she chose to do that. And in a way, that's a service to the people who watch the film tomorrow night, who don't speak English.
So that compassion is needed.
Compassion is needed, but compassion just comes, I mean, you can feel the energy when Victoria talks about this 3 weeks, and she felt everything was very peaceful, and she was just there in the moment. The moment was unfolding, how good she felt, yeah? So then there's an enormous compassion that comes out of that. You don't decide it. It just comes out, you know. It's like this man, from Microsoft, what's he called?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, right? So Bill Gates is a certain kind of individual, right? Probably has certain brilliant talents. So he developed this amazing company, Microsoft, yeah? So this became a huge success. And out of that, he became the richest man in the world. He had so much money, what to do with it all? Yeah? He had billions. And then at some point, he must have gone through some kind of process, and he decided that it wasn't really completely satisfying him to be the boss of this amazing computer company. He started to feel inside himself maybe that he wanted to give back something to humanity, because out of this enormous success, he had this enormous money, and he could use that money to do something really spectacular. And so he basically gradually quit the company. As far as I know, he quit to Microsoft, or he only partially involved. And he started a foundation, a charity foundation. And because he's a very clever guy, the way he looks at situations, he brings to bear on health problems in Africa, for example, or toilets in India. I don't exactly know what his projects are. And he brings to bear a certain attitude to solving the problems, then completely backed up by enormous amounts of money that he can bring to do that. Yeah? And I would say this is completely compassion. He's motivated completely by compassion, because he's not going to make more money from that. He may get more satisfaction. So there's a personal element. But basically, I would say that if I would ever get to meet him, I would almost imagine that he's a man now completely taken over by compassion. But he didn't really decide it, I guess. I don't know, but my guess is he wouldn't have decided it. It would have just come up inside him, and he didn't have really a choice. So the guys who've lived in this community, I mean, in a way, they've made some priority, which I respect very much, you know, because they've made a priority to change their life quite drastically, and to live in a very different kind of structure. You say it's a strong structure, and not to have time to make personal choices, not to have time to make too much drama, not to have time to do all the things that, you know, you may greatly value in your life, you know.
For example, he has no television in the house. Normally in every living room is a big television, and for hours the television is running. So.
Yeah, I mean, I offered several times to the community, would you like to have a television? We can make a television room, you know. And nobody has ever, in 15 years, nobody has ever said that they wanted the television. Nobody, amazing. I mean, actually, we have a lot of televisions. We have about 25 televisions, but they're in the guest rooms, you know, because the guests, of course, have to have a television, yeah? And, of course, people could go in a guest room which wasn't being used and watch the television. But I never asked anybody, but probably nobody ever does that. I'm the only one who has a television. Because, you know, my problem is that I'm English, and I have to watch the BBC News, you know. Otherwise, I don't even know what's going on in the world anymore. Because I can't read the German news. So if I don't watch the BBC every night, well, not every night, but you know, some nights, I like to be somehow to know what is going on, you know. So I have a television for that. Now I've got a big problem because my dear friend Indira told me about Netflix. So now, this is really terrible. So 4 days ago, I bought a monthly thing from Netflix, yeah? And now I've discovered there are millions of amazing films that I only have to click and, you know, so now every night I go to bed later and later, you know.
do you think that a change inside is possible without changing the outside, maybe living in a community like this, or going away from the normal social...
I mean, of course I can say that, you know, in theory, you can change your life anywhere without changing the outside of your life, yeah? Of course you could say that, and maybe it could be possible, but I don't know anybody who ever did that. So, I mean, I think, how can I say, I mean, you can't change your life until you want to change your life. And you don't want to change your life until there's a reason why you would want to change your life. Yeah? So, for example, I'm talking now about this moment, you know, for example, Victoria was talking about this 3 weeks, or maybe it was already a month, when she felt so peaceful. So when you've experienced something like that, then you have a reason why you might want to change your life. Like she might decide that some of the people who she thought were friends, she realized now that they are not really friends that serve her. So nothing against them, but you know, they don't really support what now is maybe her priority. And so maybe she'll make some different choice now in her life. Yeah? And I think pretty without question, I would say, something that's very unpopular is that actually a spiritual teacher is needed for the journey. So especially here in Europe, there's a very strong idea, I can do it myself. Yeah, but I don't know anybody who did it themselves, actually. So all the people who say, I can do it myself, they haven't done it. They're 40, 50, they haven't done it. So then probably, if it would work so easily alone, why it didn't work, you know? Yes, they're a bit spiritual, and yes, their life is more quiet than it was before, but they're not living in this enormous peace that could be possible. And you know, once you've experienced that peace, I mean, now it would be very easy for Victoria to make various choices which maybe would have been difficult before. You know? Now maybe it would be easier for her to spend more time alone, walking by the river rather than being in a coffee shop talking to friends. Maybe that would be much easier for her. And to decide to come and live in a community like this is not something you can really decide. It's more like a happening, you know. It's a kind of happening, because coming to a community like this is only for really crazy, mad people. You see, this is only for the people that really, 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 really want to live in peace. Our community is not very spiritual, but as you say, we work a lot, you know. It's not a spiritual community. This is a community of people who really, really, really want to live in peace. And that requires certain choices, you know. And I made all those choices in my own life, so I'm not, you know, I'm sharing my own experiences in life, you know. Until I was 27, my mother was very, very happy. I had all the kind of attributes that she would have found to make her happy, you know. I was going to be good middle-class engineer, architect, you know, doing things that she would have found acceptable. I would have almost certainly have had a family with some nice little kiddies and all this kind of stuff, you know. And then suddenly she couldn't believe it, you know. First I went off to Japan with all those strange people. They all look the same, you know, all those yellow people in Japan. When I was leaving, she said to me, "How are you going to know one from the other? They all look the same." And I'm like, "Really? Is that right? Maybe it's true, you know." And then when I, you know, out of that, I went to India. And then I was sitting in the, from her point of view, I was sitting in the sun for years doing nothing. You see? And basically it went downhill from there, you know, and she never really recovered from my choices. My choices made her very, very sad, you know. She could never understand what I was doing. To the end of her life, she never understood. My father also, who really should have been able to understand. So I became the black sheep, you know. But, you know, at a certain point in the journey, you just see that, you know, okay, let them judge you as they have to judge you, but it doesn't really make any difference. Because you know that they've never experienced this peace that I'm talking about. And if they would experience it, which they might, because it happens to many people very spontaneously, if they might experience that, then maybe, you know, they might read one of my books, which they've never done. They might. Probably not. I mean, the ideas we hold in the society are very, very strong. The habits, you know, the kind of habits of what is the life, you know, what is the life, yeah? There are very strong habits.
So the structure is a help for coming out of my own habits.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, somehow there needs to be some sort of mechanism, you know, to go from the old conditioned ideas about things to something new. There's a process, you know, there's like a rebirth that happens. And this doesn't happen so easily. I'm not talking about it tonight, but, you know, people can become very afraid when things start to change. It's not such an easy journey. It's a journey also, I think, that needs a certain safety zone or safe environment, you know, kind of needs an environment where there's support, you know, from other people who understand. And I would say that the energy in our community is a great support, because sometimes you feel like shit. Absolute shit. It's not all lovely, but sometimes you contact something inside yourself, you know, and you feel like absolute shit. And that's not easy to deal with in the regular society, but in our community, everybody's gone through moments to feel like really shit, and so easily people support each other. And the whole energy field supports anyway. Okay, I'm not scaring you.
No, thank you.
Okay.
I'm here in the house now for several days.
Right.
And I see that here's a very strict structure in the house.
Strict structure, really?
Yeah.
You're the first person that would use a word like strict, I would say. Most people say it's very chaotic.
Yeah.
But if you see it as strict, I mean, maybe it's getting better.
Okay, it's chaotic too, but when I look at my daytime or
Right.
the time from the other people, I can see that most or everybody in the house have a lot of work
Right.
and nearly no free time.
Right.
And there's no time left for the normal things everybody do, looking for personal fun or something like this.
Personal fun? Terrible fun.
And there's no time for
Thinking
choosing.
even. You can't even think here. No thinking, no fun. It's pretty close to a slave camp, actually.
That's not what I mean, but there's no time for making my own decisions so much as I'm doing during daytime. So
Decision.
here's
You've got some own decisions?
but here's the structure in this house. And why is it needed to have a structure like this?
I mean, we start off every morning, you know, at, what time is it? 8:30, 6:30? 7:30. 7:30 in the morning for an hour. Then we have breakfast. Then we have tasks until another meditation, and then lunch, and then you get the afternoon off, but other people work, and then, you know. So yes, there's a structure. So this is a kind of service, you know, you can say this is a kind of service. And we're not a very big community. And so this small community works a lot. But this work is a kind of devotion. It's not a devotion to John David, it's a devotion to, why, what is it devotion to? I don't know. It's a devotion to love in a way. I mean, the ideas we hold in the society are very, very strong. The habits, you know, the kind of habits of what is the life, you know, what is the life, yeah? There are very strong habits.
So the structure is a help for coming out of my own habits.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, somehow there needs to be some sort of mechanism, to go from the old conditioned ideas about things to something new. There's a process, there's like a rebirth that happens. And this doesn't happen so easily. I'm not talking about it tonight, but people can become very afraid when things start to change. It's not such an easy journey.